Welcome to the Stranded podcast miniseries. This miniseries was written and read by Matt Spear. Episode 2, The Hunt. I woke to the feel of warm sand pressing against me as water washed over. My head ached like I had a migraine that hit the ground. My name is Joe, and I am 57 years old. I met my husband, Walter, 24 years ago, and we had 2 children, Claire, who's 15, and Simon, who was 11. A few weeks ago, I suggested to Walter that we take a vacation because he loves to travel and it would please him. But on the way, our private jet crashed. As I lay there, my head started clearing, and I take a look at my surroundings. I was lying on a beach of an uninhabited tropical island. I could see pieces of the plane in the ocean. Beside me, Walter was lying on the ground unconscious. Simon was on top of him, giving him CPR. Behind me, Claire was on her phone, pacing back and forth in panic. I stood up and felt very dizzy. My head was still spinning. I walked over to Claire. She did not even notice me when I approached her. She kept pacing back and forth. "What's wrong?" I asked her. She looked up at me but kept pacing. "I can't get a signal," she panically replied. "Butlers, get Clara." I paused in mid-sentence. I forgot that the butlers jumped out of the plane and were not with us when we landed. I started thinking as hard as I could about how to help Claire, but without a butler, I couldn't think of anything. Normally, if I had a problem, I would have my butlers deal with it for me. As I was thinking, I looked at the beach and saw Walter was sitting up. I ran over to him and knelt down beside him. "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you?" I asked him. "I'm fine," he said. Behind me, Simon moaned that he was hungry because he did not get a chance to have anything on the plane. I started to feel helpless again. Normally, the butlers would get food for my kids, but now they can't. How could we get food? We need food to survive, but we can't get it. All of our food was in the plane. The plane sunk into the ocean, and we couldn't get to any of that food. The only thing that could get to it now are the fish. "Wait a second, we can eat the fish." I looked at Simon and Walter. "We can get some fish from the ocean," I told him. I looked at Simon. "We can get some fish from the ocean," I told him. "But we don't have fishing poles," he pointed out. He was right. How could we catch the fish without a pole? I started thinking as hard as I could. Suddenly I got an idea. "If we swim in the ocean and catch the fish with our hands, then we can get them," I told him. "I can get the fish," Walter said. He stood up. He walked one step and fell right back down on the ground. He tried getting back up again, but he could not. "Don't worry, Walter. I can get this," I told him. He looked at me unsure. "Are you sure you want to do this? We have not swam since—" I looked at the water and got very nervous, but I needed to help. I needed to help make sure that my family would not starve. I looked back at Walter. "I can do this," I said. "Good luck," Walter told me. I started walking towards the ocean. Each step was harder than the last. When I got to the water, I stared at it and instantly had splashbacks. I remembered sitting by a pool, splashing water and laughing with him. I started running away from the water. I can't do it. I looked back and I instantly regretted my decision to run away. I slowly backed walk into the water until I was waist high. I started having flashbacks again. I could see the day when Walter discovered it. He was screaming at me. "This is about trust. I thought we had something special," he told me. "We do have something special. I love you," I told him. "Well, I could never love you," he told me. My mind snapped back to the present. I started running back to the shore. This was too hard. I looked at Walter as I came near him. He was sitting with the kids farther up the beach. What do I tell him? How do I tell him I couldn't get in the water? I looked back at the water and a shiver went up my spine. I walked towards my family. "Where's the fish?" Walter asked. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to face it. I started running back to the water. I ran into the water and started swimming. As I swam, more flashbacks started coming back to me. I could see myself, 10 years ago, sitting by the pool with my ex. I met him when I started taking swimming lessons and we fell in love. I was still married to Walter at that time. But that didn't stop me. I was already married to Walter, though, but that did not stop me. I started cheating on Walter. My ex was a very good swimmer. He taught me how to swim. We spent all of our days swimming together. As I snapped back into the present, I spotted a fish. The fish started evading me. As it swam deeper into the water, I swam deeper as well. I chased it through the wreckage of the plane and through a coral reef. I finally caught it. It squirmed in my hands. I started getting dizzy again. I needed air. I slowly swam up to the surface, and my mind raced back to the worst day of my life. After my ex and I had finished swimming, I heard a voice boom from behind me. It was Walter. He found out what I was doing behind his back. "Yo, but afraid! Me!" he screamed. I fell back into the water and started drowning. My ex and Walter both could have easily grabbed me, but they didn't. They just stood there, watching me drown. Everything felt like it was closing in around me, and I couldn't escape it. Finally, the lifeguard pulled me up. When I got up, my ex told me we were done. Walter looked at me sadly. He told me we would still be together, but only because a divorce would be too hard on the kids. As my mind came back to the present, I kept trying to swim back up to the surface, but I was too weak. I started drowning again, and the feeling of being closed in had returned. I looked at the surface helplessly and saw a figure standing above me. It reached out its hand and pulled me back up. As I gasped for air, I realized that figure was Walter. He pulled me back up. "Are you okay?" he asked. "You saved me this time." "Why?" as I gasped. "Because I love you, and I have always loved you." I can't believe it. After all these years that I thought he didn't care for me, it turns out he did. He still loves me, and it's not just for the kids. We started swimming back to the shore together with the fish, holding hands the entire way. Even though Joe and Walter have reconciled, they are still stranded on the island. Will they escape, or will they be stuck there forever? Come back next episode on the Stranded Podcast miniseries to find out. Thank you for listening.